Hello, guys, and welcome to SN Sports. This is my reaction to the AP Top 25 for week 0 of the season. So let's get right into it. We'll start with these honorable mentions. We got Michigan State, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Appalachian State, Tulsa, Nebraska, BYU, UCLA, San Diego State, Colorado, Houston, Oregon, Pittsburgh, Northwestern, NC State, Boise State, Notre Dame, Utah, and TCU. Now, what stands out to me is obviously Michigan State. I'd expect them to be a little higher than one vote in the preseason, just because of the coaching. But I don't think they will. I don't think they'll finish or be in the top 25 until they beat somebody in conference play. Sorry about that mic issue. Now, Kentucky, I'm very surprised to see in the receiving the votes, 3 of them. I think Michigan State should have got more than they did, and Kentucky should have got a little less. Texas A&M, nothing I'm really concerned about. Appalachian State. Now, there must be some players on that team that are returning from last year that NFL scouts are looking at, because I don't know why Appalachian State would be on this list. Last year, they didn't look so good. They might have some top recruits this year. Now, Tulsa on this list, I don't really have anything to comment. Nebraska, I think they should be a little bit higher in the votes that they received. But they're a good team. They obviously don't have Armstrong anymore. BYU, UCLA, Pac-12 team. I'll look at that next. San Diego State. What does San Diego State have? I really don't know what San Diego State has that we should be knowing. Colorado, Houston, Oregon. I'm surprised Oregon's on here this high. I think they should be like where UCLA is. Oregon wasn't that good last year. Now, Pittsburgh, they were good last year. Northwestern, they're usually good. NC State, I think NC State should be a little bit lower. Boise State should be right where they are. Notre Dame, I'm not sure how good they are. Utah, right around where they should be. TCU, I think, is a little high right now. Tennessee. Now let's move on to this top 25. Tennessee. Last year, Tennessee didn't look so good. I think they'll be better this year. 25 is a good place to start them. I don't think they'll get out of to the top 20 until SEC play. Washington State. They play Montana State to start off, which won't get them anything unless we have losses up here. Washington State, I don't know why the Pac-12 has so many teams in the top 25. Obviously the preseason top 25 is going off of spring games, recruits, how they did last year, factors. Games have not been played, so I'm getting at. Texas. Obviously they have the new head coach. Texas, I'm fine as being 23. Anything below 20, I'm fine with, because it doesn't really impact. Obviously, this isn't the playoff committee. The playoff committee votes after this play. West Virginia, about where they should be. Virginia Tech, they should probably be in the high teens, like 18 and 19. Kansas State. So we have between 20 and 23. That's 4 or rather just not 4, but three Big 12 teams. Obviously, the Big 12 now has the conference championship, which will be a rematch for sure because Big 12 plays every team. USF. I think 19 is a little high. I expect them. They should be flipped with like West Virginia. I think. But obviously, these don't matter at all, except for TV ratings. They do. So Miami of Florida. They should be a little lower, probably around 20. Florida. I don't really care about Florida. They can be wherever they want. Florida, 17. I think that's reasonable for their success last year. Louisville at 16. I think Louisville should be a little higher. Maybe around like 12. Georgia, 15 seems good. Stanford, that's fine. LSU, I think should be just slightly higher. Probably around 11 would do them well. Or 12. Auburn, maybe a little high, maybe around 13, 14. Michigan, I think they should be higher than what they are. But obviously, I see why they're putting him at 11. They probably could go anywhere between 8 and 13 at this point. Michigan, they have a quarterback and a coach returning, and that's about it as out of their starters. But I still think that Michigan has a lot of good recruiting from Harbaugh. Oklahoma State, they made it to what bowl was that last year? The Alma Bowl against Colorado. I don't remember that game. So I think 10. I think they should be around 12 as well, but can't have it at 12. Wisconsin. I think 9's a little high for Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin is going to win the West, and I think 9's high. I think they should be lower than Michigan. Washington at 8. Washington should be closer to 10, but 8's fine. Oklahoma at 7. I don't see why they shouldn't be at 7. Obviously, they don't have the coach, so Bob Stoops isn't there anymore. So maybe around 8, one spot lower. Penn State. So this is now how many Big East teams have we seen? Or Big 10 East. Is that only the second one? Let's see. I think Penn State at 6 is good. At this point, they open against Akron. There's not very many early games in the first few weeks that are actually good. Clemson at 5. They should be higher at 4 or something. USC at 4. They have 2 votes for number 1. They go against WMU. I don't know exactly what team that is. Not Wayne. Florida State at 3. So that will set up a 3 versus 1 matchup. I looked at. I know how Alabama's number 1. Ohio State at number 2, and Alabama at number 1. So Ohio State obviously is good where they are. But they didn't perform in the Fiesta Bowl. They only had 1 blemish before the Fiesta Bowl, which was to Penn State last year. Now, Ohio, so 50. Now, I'm surprised Alabama got 52 first-place votes. I didn't expect 50. Like, 52 compared to 3, 4, and 2. I guess everybody can...
Snickerdoodle cookies.
Now, how many Big Ten we have in this top 25? We only have one Big Ten West team. So there's no Big Ten team between 12 and 25. So Northwestern at 31. Obviously, you've got so our week 1 matchups are up here, which Tennessee's ranked. So that we have West Virginia, Virginia Tech. So schedule. Let's see these matchups now. Let's look at all college football. All the FBS. Actually, maybe top. Let's start top 25. Top 25. So don't forget to tune in Saturday for our coverage of what's Saturday on SN? We're previewing the season and what happens Saturday on SN, not right here on SN Sports. So we'll preview the season. We will preview the matchups before the first Saturday. So South Florida actually ranked in the top 25. So that will be interesting. So South Florida actually plays twice. They play 2 games before the second AP poll comes out. So they'll have potentially could be 2-0 by then. So obviously the highlight would be Michigan, Florida, and then obviously this game. But then you have this one, West Virginia, Virginia Tech. So I think it'll be a pretty good first week. Now, I was disappointed that the Big Ten West only has one team in the top 25. Like, seriously, you only have one team in the top 25? What was Wisconsin last year? Before the Big Ten Championship. I don't remember exactly what they were. But the Big Ten West really didn't get much respect. The Big Ten East has 3 teams in the top 25. The Big Ten West has 1. So now the SEC has so the SEC. Okay, let's go back. Nope, one more. Okay, so the SEC, how many teams they got in the top 25? I think they have 1 from the East, then 1, 2, 3, 2 from the East. So they have 3 from the West, 2 from the East. I'm surprised that Georgia is 15th. Now let's look at Pac-12. What's the highest Pac-12 South team? Is USC, which is the highest Pac-12 team. Then you got Washington. Stanford, which is also from the north. And then Washington State, which is also from the north. It's like a Big 12. Actually, Tennessee is also in the top 25. So that's 3 from the east in the SEC. Sorry about that. ACC, you have 1. We're just going to combine these 2. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in the top 25. Now the Big 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the Big 12 has 5. Now the top 4 has 1 from each Power 5 conference except for the Big 12. So the top 4 has 1 from each Power 5 conference except for the Big 12. It has a team, so it's fairly even. Now the SEC doesn't have another team until you get to 12 and 13 with Auburn and LSU. And then they also have 15 and 17. So SEC still is getting that. Loving this. Now, Associated Press Week 1 or preseason doesn't even matter. It starts to matter close to when you put the pressure on the college football playoff committee members to start their poll, which is usually a little close to the AP. It's not like no team is dramatically off to the Associated Press because the Associated Press aren't they know what they're doing. Now, did I not cover conference? No. Let's look at the group of 5. Conference. So let's look at all of the teams that are not in the Power 5 that are in the top 25. So you got South Florida. Is that it? Is South Florida the only one? Or do we have another? I think South Florida is the only group of 5 team in the top 25. Now, the next would be Notre Dame and then Boise State, which Notre Dame really isn't the group of 5. They're just independent. Now, this has been a presentation of S*N. We'll see you next time, guys. This is SN Sports. Saturday on SN, we'll have our coverage of the... What are we doing Saturday on SN? We're doing the college football preview. See you Saturday, exclusively on the SN Network.